Somebody help her. The cry tore through the cabin as Claire Whitmore's body went limp, her diamond necklace catching the dim overhead light before her head fell forward against the seat. Gasps swept through the rows like wildfire. Passengers froze, books half closed, headphones ripped off, conversations cut short. At 35,000 feet, in a place where help felt impossible, time slowed to a terrifying crawl. From the seat just behind her, Daniel Whitmore, the man known on Wall Street for never losing his composure, was no longer the untouchable billionaire. His voice cracked, desperate, raw. "Please, is anyone a doctor?" He clutched at his wife's shoulders, his hands trembling in a way that made even strangers ache with pity. Flight attendants rushed forward, their polished smiles gone, replaced with panic that blurred the memory of drills and training manuals. Their eyes darted through the cabin, searching for a raised hand, for someone, anyone, with the authority to save her. None came. Heads turned away. Whispers spread like smoke. Fear had sealed the crowd into silence. And then, from the back of the plane, a boy in a faded blue uniform stood. His name was Jacob Miller, 17, too young for anyone to believe he had answers. A janitor at the airport, not a passenger by right, but by mistake. His shift had ended hours earlier, scrubbing this very plane, before a scheduling error placed a standby ticket in his hand. He had been on his way to visit his mother, who was home in bed with a failing heart. Eyes followed him as he pushed into the aisle, some filled with confusion, others with scorn. A few passengers even muttered under their breath, "What does he think he's doing?" He didn't care. He had seen this before. He had knelt beside his mother countless times, steadying her breathing, waiting for paramedics to arrive, watching, learning, remembering. Jacob dropped to his knees beside Claire. Her skin was pale, her lips faintly blue. Daniel looked at him, eyes red, helpless, and for a moment, the mask of power he carried everywhere fell away. He didn't ask who Jacob was. He didn't care. His look said only one thing: please save her. Jacob's hands pressed firmly against Claire's chest. 1, 2, 3, steady, deliberate compressions, the rhythm drilled into his bones from community CPR classes. Every push was a fight against the silence trying to swallow the cabin. The flight attendant, frozen with an unused oxygen mask in her hands, stepped back, giving him space. Passengers leaned forward, unable to look away. The steady thud of Jacob's compressions filled the air, matching the pounding of 100 anxious hearts. Some whispered prayers, others bit their lips until they bled, while a child clung to his mother's arm, too young to understand why everyone had gone so quiet. Minutes stretched, cruel and endless. Daniel's sobs broke through the rhythm, a sound no one on Wall Street would have recognized. Hope felt thin, fragile, as if the whole cabin balanced on the shoulders of a boy who, hours ago, had been scrubbing gum from the floor. But Jacob didn't falter. His voice was low, steady, almost like he was speaking to his mother again. "Stay with me. Don't let go." And for the first time since Claire Whitmore collapsed, a flicker of color returned to her face. Sweat streamed down Jacob Miller's face, his arms screaming with fatigue, but he refused to stop. Each compression was driven by something deeper than strength, an unshakable will to keep Claire Whitmore alive. Seconds bled into minutes, and just as despair began to settle like a shadow over the cabin, a sound broke through the silence. Claire gasped, a fragile, trembling breath, but a breath all the same. Her chest rose faintly, her eyelids fluttered, and color returned to her cheeks like dawn breaking after a long night. The entire cabin seemed to exhale with her. Passengers clutched their seats, strangers embraced, and some burst into tears they hadn't realized they'd been holding back. Daniel Whitmore, the man who built empires with his iron will and unshakable composure, crumbled beside his wife. His face pressed into her trembling hand as tears slid down his cheeks. All the money, power, and prestige in the world hadn't been enough. But the hands of a teenage janitor had given him back what mattered most. Applause thundered through the narrow aisles, rolling forward like a wave. The flight attendants steadied Claire with oxygen, their hands shaking as relief overtook fear. Jacob slumped against the wall, his body trembling, his chest heaving. His eyes burned, not from weakness, but from the staggering realization of what had just happened. He wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to be the one. Yet somehow he was. And it wasn't only Claire's survival that stunned the passengers. It was the contrast that cut through every illusion. A billionaire's wife, wrapped in wealth and diamonds, had been pulled back from death by a boy in a worn uniform. A boy who hours earlier had been scrubbing gum from this very floor. Status meant nothing in that moment. What mattered was courage. What mattered was heart. As the captain announced an emergency landing, Daniel slid into the seat beside Jacob. For a man who commanded boardrooms with ruthless confidence, his silence was louder than words. He placed a trembling hand on Jacob's shoulder and gave a single nod. A nod that carried gratitude too big for language. Jacob, exhausted, simply nodded back. He thought of his mother, frail and fighting back home, and of the night she told him he was braver than he believed. For the first time, he realized she had been right. The plane touched down to flashing lights. Paramedics rushed aboard, whisking Claire away, and within hours, news outlets had the story. 17-year-old janitor saves billionaire's wife mid-flight. Headlines lit up every screen. Interviews piled in, and Jacob found himself at the center of attention he never asked for. Through it all, he remained the same. Humble, grounded, unwilling to call himself a hero. "I just did what anyone should do," he said. But Daniel Whitmore would never forget. The man who once believed wealth could solve every problem now carried a new truth. Sometimes, salvation comes from the hands you least expect. In the weeks that followed, Daniel visited Jacob and his mother. He offered financial help, yes, but more than that, he offered respect, friendship, and the promise that Jacob would never again be invisible. Claire, her strength slowly returning, held Jacob's hand during a press conference. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward, but her words silenced the room. "This young man is my guardian angel," she said, her voice breaking. "And he reminded us all that true worth has nothing to do with money." The story of Jacob Miller spread far beyond that flight. It became more than breaking news. It became a symbol. A reminder that heroes don't always wear badges, stethoscopes, or tailored suits. Sometimes, they wear plain uniforms and carry burdens few notice. Sometimes, they are the people the world overlooks, until the moment comes when they rise and change everything. On that ordinary flight, a teenage janitor gave the world more than a miracle. He gave it a glimpse of hope, a reason to believe in the quiet strength of ordinary people. And in doing so, he proved that kindness, when chosen in the moments that matter most, can transform not just a single life, but countless others.